third and fourth generation younger Latinos. All right. So if that is the case, it's going to be a lot harder for her. Especially, you can't even talk about places like Arizona at that point. Nevada could be a little bit different. All right, Nevada's it's its own unique beast, but in Arizona, if that trend stays true, you can pretty much write off Arizona for Harris. And again, and then it becomes an issue in Pennsylvania. All right, we got to look at Allentown, the Lehigh Valley. All right, and you got to watch the returns coming out of there. That was the big concern. All right, Pennsylvania is really a must-win for Harris. Okay, it's not as much of a must-win for Trump, but for Harris, it looks like she needs that blue wall to hold.
Sure. Before we go, Tom, I got to ask you about Puerto Ricans, because there's an interesting statistic coming out of Osceola County. This is just south of Orlando. Right now, Trump, with 95% of the votes counted, Trump has 50%, Harris 48%. So Trump's up by 2 points. If I'm looking back 4 years ago, Biden won Osceola County by 14 points. So we're seeing a sizable shift. This county is important because I believe around a third of the population there are Puerto Ricans. What do you make of Trump seeming to gain some ground in a county like this?
Yeah. One of the big things, and this is really important, we had Mike Madrid on the Ground Game podcast recently. He specializes in Latino voters. Look at the way Trump talks about immigration, the wall, wanting to crack down on immigration. Especially, of course, now we should note here, of course, that Puerto Ricans are Americans, all right? But culturally, the problem was Tony Hinchcliffe dumping on the entire culture. It was very racist. Trump, if you listen to him, he talks a lot about illegal immigration. And among Latino voters, especially people who have been here 3 and 4 generations deep now, all right, they agree with that. And you start to see that movement among the younger Latinos towards Trump. And that's really key in understanding this dynamic. You also got to remember, too, especially for Latinos, large South American population, Colombian, Venezuelans, Cubans are getting older now, or the expats down in Florida, very traditionally conservative, socially conservative. And you got a lot of that down in South Florida, okay? So when we talk about voter groups, no group is a monolith. And sometimes Democrats seem to forget that.
All right, Tom LoBianco with 24/7. Tom, can't thank you enough. This entire year, you've been so instrumental.
Thank you, guys.
Austin, thank you, too. We're going to take our final commercial break of this hour. More results where that came from. We're also going out live to the Trump Vance watch party in West Palm Beach. Some of our reporters standing by. We'll see you in 2 minutes. And welcome back here to Live Now from Fox. I'm Andrew Kraft. Thanks for being with us here as we approach yet the top of a new hour. In the meantime, like I said before the break, let's go out now live to West Palm Beach, Florida, to the Trump-Vance election night watch party. That's where we find Fox News' Rebecca Castor with the latest there. Rebecca, good to see you here. How's the energy there in the room?
Hey, Andrew. Well, of course, being filled with Trump supporters, they are excited and encouraged. The Trump campaign advisors, they tell us that they feel they're on track for a good night. They're encouraged by some of this exit polling that is coming in. The supporters here, they cheer every time a state is called for the former president. Trump, though, is watching this all go down from Mar-a-Lago, where he's watching the returns come in with family and friends. Former President Trump is spending election night where he kicked off his campaign in Palm Beach, alongside one of his biggest supporters, Elon Musk. And his team is feeling confident they can secure the magic number of 270 electoral votes.
For early voting, it was definitely, we didn't have as much male turnout, and that's not just for our party, that's for any party in terms of voting. But after today, we're seeing a change, and we're seeing such optimism.
Millions of voters braved long lines to cast their ballots, each with different issues in mind.
Under a new Trump administration, I think we're going to have more secure borders.
We have everything going for us, but we're going to lose a lot of that if Trump wins.
But with the race neck and neck, it could be days before we know the final results. During a visit to thank his campaign staff, the former president expressed his frustration with the vote counting process.
They should do paper ballots, same-day voting, voter ID, and be done. One day, same day. And you'd have by 10 o'clock.
No matter the outcome, the winner of this election will have a challenging task on the first day of their administration.
One of the most important jobs of whoever the president-elect is going to be has got to be unifying the country.
Donald Trump was asked earlier today if he'll accept the results of this election if he loses. He said, if it's, quote, a fair election, I'll be the first to acknowledge it. Andrew, back to you.
So, Rebecca, I had a question because remember, a lot of reporters have been asking Trump whether or not he would be voting in favor of Amendment Question 3 and 4 on marijuana and abortion in Florida. We haven't really gotten a sense of how he voted on that, though we do know those questions failed there in Florida.
Yes, so we didn't really get a clear answer from Trump on how he voted on those measures. But as you said, really not a big deal. They failed today.
All right, Rebecca Castor there live for us in West Palm Beach. Rebecca, talk soon. Thanks so much. All right, in the meantime here, we do have yet another race call that we have to make. The Associated Press calling Missouri for Donald Trump here. Let's take that. You see there, 30% of estimated votes counted right now, though this was enough to call the race for Trump there in the Show Me State. There you can see the vote margin. So in the meantime, we do want to bring it into the conversation as well. Remember, we're checking in on some of the trends going on social media as well, because we are about 15 seconds away from the top of the next hour. That means polls will close in some of these western states as well. Let's check in with Live Now's Christina Evans, and she joins me. Christina, what's going on social media right now?
Absolutely, Andrew. It's been a very busy night on social media as well. We're getting a lot of updates and able to see what's happening on the ground in certain states, including Arizona, one of those critical battleground states. I do want to show you another look here in our social center so you can get an idea of kind of how we're tracking these tweets and these other posts as they're coming in to our newsroom. But let's talk about the latest one that we're seeing out of Arizona. This is thanks to Fox 10. We're getting this update. What you're seeing now on your screen, this is an update there from Fox 10 reporter Kinsey Beach. She's there on the campus of Arizona State University in Tempe. As you can see, polls have closed in this location, but the lines are still long there, with students still putting in their opportunity to cast their vote for the presidential election and some of those other elections happening there in the battleground state of Arizona. So she did say that folks are encouraged to stay in line so that way their votes will be counted. But in areas like on college campuses at Arizona State University specifically, lines are still long, even though the polls have closed in Arizona. I do want to also give you an update here on Live Now. Another look at another place in Arizona where the polls are going to remain open open. This is the Navajo Nation area in Apache County. This is all thanks to the Navajo Nation president that he filed a lawsuit to extend polling hours to accommodate voters. This after the Arizona Secretary of State said that voters in the county experienced issues with e-poll books and printers. So we do know there in the Navajo Nation, those polls will remain open until 9 p.m. local time. That's just another hour or so in I should say, in the state of Arizona. So again, they will stay open so that way the Navajo Nation members
in Pennsylvania.
can cast their vote there for the presidential election. Again, Arizona, one of those critical battleground states that we're keeping a very close eye on in this election. Will be interesting to see how these things shake out. But long lines are happening on social media. But folks remaining in place to make sure that their voice is heard.
For you right now, but also to hear those kind of numbers.
Well, I'll tell you what, guys. I mean, first of all, I love being with you guys on this night. You know how I feel about both. You know how I feel about you. And this has been a journey we have shared together. And the rallies, of course, are all about supporting President Trump. And so I didn't know what to expect today. And of course, tonight is more of a Trump party. So of course, it is that rally kind of a feel. But it's also a little bittersweet like it was last night on the last night of the rallies. Everybody kind of recognizing that this journey, or at least this portion of the journey, coming to an end, but hopefully we turn the page, if we will, and we see a whole new chapter that brings us to the White House. And I think there's a lot of optimism, you guys. There's a lot of optimism here. You're seeing people are really, really optimistic about what's to come. They're cheering. They're getting excited as we see Dave McCormick inching up in the polls, which is so exciting. We've seen Dave McCormick, as you know, Bobby. We see him at almost every rally in Pennsylvania. It's incredible to see this kind of enthusiasm on the ground. By the way, unlike a rally, you'll appreciate this, you guys. Unlike a rally, there's a bar. There are stations with food, and it's kind of easy to get to the restrooms as well. So a little different than a rally as far as the ease of comfort in the room. But everybody is on pins and needles. And one last thing I wanted to say to you, to your question earlier, Matthew, is the fact that the third polling place we went to, there was one side that was very Democrat, and the other side, oh, we're getting close in Michigan. The other side was all Make America Great Again gear. So we saw, again, a very 50-50 divide. And I spoke to a lot of people there who were very liberal, but then I also spoke to some people who were very conservative. And they both ultimately said the same thing to me, which was, whatever happens tomorrow, we live in the same country, and we want peace, and we want happiness, and we want unity. So whoever wins, I hope that we all can accept that and come together peacefully. And I thought that was really nice to hear from both sides.
Well, that's a great point, Nikki, because I think about our time together covering these rallies, and that's been this peace, love, and really caring for your neighbor. That's been the overarching, Christian theme, whether or not there's believers at the rally. Sometimes there's non-believers, but it's people who are focused on making America healthy and great again. Do you think that what we potentially are seeing in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania is due to efforts of Scott Pressler and